Manning joining you live from Los Angeles, California. Let's get those numbers up, y'all. Come on now. Let's get those numbers up. Now, I was looking at the trajectory of the listenership to this podcast. Just finished looking, which is why I came back so quickly. The Saturday numbers need to come up. The Saturday numbers need to come up. Now, yesterday we had our largest audience yet thus far. And I would like for you to please be kind enough, be concerned enough, and committed enough. Be a part of this podcast. And the way you are a part of this podcast is not by necessarily joining my organization, Black Men Rising in the Second Chance Campaign, not by joining Gangbangers for God, nor by joining our parent organization, NAPS, which is the National Association for Public Safety, but the way you become a part of this podcast is by being kind enough to be an active listener. I ask you to please help me bring these numbers up on Saturday. And the way you do that, my friend, is sit down with your smartphone, with your laptop, whatever gadget you're using to communicate with others. Go onto your Facebook site or Facebook page and tell your friends to listen to this podcast. All that. Greetings to my friends right here in Los Angeles, California, where our listenership has doubled. Greetings to those of you in San Jose, California, where our listenership has quadrupled. And greetings to my friends in Phoenix, Arizona, where our listenership is growing at a rapid clip. Thank God for you in Phoenix. Thank God for you in San Jose. Thank God for you in Los Angeles, here where I am. And thank God for all of you all over the nation, in my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, in my second home, Richmond, Virginia. Those of you in South Carolina and North Carolina, in Texas and Tennessee, wherever you might be. My fellow humans who are over in Oman, those in the Netherlands and Sweden and Switzerland, my third home, that is, wherever you're listening in the world. I am so glad to have this marvelous opportunity to come into your home, into your city, into your automobile, wherever you might be. I am so tickled and so excited and so happy to be a part of the family of earthly humans on another day, because this morning when I rose, I didn't have any doubt. I knew the Lord would take care of me. I knew the Lord would provide for me. I am so excited I can't hardly see straight. I'm so excited that sometimes it's difficult for me to even get sleep at night, because I wake up with the stuff on my mind that we want to do to make the country better, to make the cities better, to make the human condition better. And the way we do that is we commit ourselves to a task, and then we use any means necessary that are legal to accomplish those tasks. And so I'm excited. So when I meet up with people who are down and out and act like they don't like being alive and act like they don't like living, it bothers me. As we do this live podcast, don't worry about the noise you hear in the background, because Carl Robeson, aka Hawk, is doing what he has to do, and we're doing what we have to do. And you know, that's what live podcasts are all about. Sometimes if you don't hear the background noise, it doesn't seem like it's live. But anyway, back to Lee Baca. I wanted to discuss the sheriff of Los Angeles County, who had negotiated a plea agreement in which he was going to take a 6-month sentence in prison for lying to federal agents about an agent. Those of you who don't know the story, Google it. But to nutshell it for you, the feds had sent an informant into LA County Jail because of all of the complaints about the abuse of inmates, which has transpired in those jails for forever. I mean, when I was there, inmates were beat down routinely by groups of rogue deputies. And it didn't matter what color they were, the deputies or the inmates were. You had black deputies who were felons. You had white ones who were felons. You had Hispanic ones also. Didn't matter. It seems to me, on that note, that law enforcement are the only group in this country who understand quite clearly that race doesn't matter. When you get a group of thug guards in a prison system, or thug officers on a police department, or deputy sheriffs in a jail, these guys roll together. They don't care what color they are. They will cover each other in their wrong and in their malfeasance. They won't testify against each other. They will pretend like they didn't see anything. But anyway, so Sheriff Baca has run a jail system, which is the largest jail system, not just in the United States of America, but the largest jail system in the world is the Los Angeles County Jail System. It is the largest in the world. Now, to show you how corrupted the jail system in Los Angeles is, Johnny Cochran sued the Los Angeles jail system in the 70s and won a multi-million-dollar settlement. Johnny Cochran turned around and sued them again in the 80s and won a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. I read one report last week that says more than $200 million of taxpayer money has been paid out to settle lawsuits against Los Angeles County Jail. So for those of you who don't give a darn about inmates and say, well, they shouldn't have did it, they shouldn't have been there in the first place, and all that other good stuff that we sometimes tell ourselves, please remember that this almost $250 million that has been paid out to these inmates that you don't like so well, it's your money. These are your tax dollars being paid out to settle lawsuits by rogues, by deputies who are sworn to serve and to protect. And on that note, I would like to also say that it always mesmerizes me, it befuddles me, it bemoozes me when I see these judges who are willing to give a cop who's been caught in corruption a slap on the wrist. They'll give this little pious speech about how we don't tolerate police misconduct and we don't this and we don't that, and then they'll give the cop probation. And it quite frankly should be the opposite. Because let us face the fact that when you are a police officer or a deputy sheriff or anyone in law enforcement in this country, you get perks that regular citizens don't get. And I understand it. I don't really take umbrage to it. I get it. I'm not a police officer, would never be one. But if I were a cop and I were on duty and I saw someone speeding doing 100 miles per hour in the middle of the night, and I stopped this car, and once I stopped it, I found out that it was an off-duty cop, there was a 99% chance he would not get a ticket. And if he were even drunk, for example, and I knew the guy, what do you think I would do? I would get him a ride home and have someone to drive his car. He wouldn't go to jail. So they get these kind of unwritten perks that the rest of us don't get. Happens every day of the week. Rarely will a cop arrest another cop. And that's just one small example of the perks you get because you are a police officer in this country. So the bottom line is, when you know better, you should do better. The point I'm trying to make is that when an officer of the law is caught committing a crime, he should do more time than a regular citizen. It's almost like if you are a pastor or a preacher and you know the Bible and you know God and you get caught in scandal. It's like God gets angrier because he knows that you know better than someone who perhaps has never gone to church and has never had a relationship with Christ Jesus. If you are a parent and you have a child who's 7 years old that makes a mistake, you look at it a lot differently than you do if there's a child who's 17 years old. When you know better, you're supposed to do better. So when these officers are caught breaking the law, the last thing a judge needs to do is give them a slap on the wrist. They should make an example out of them. Which is why I was very shocked that this judge in federal court actually did the right thing. He threw out the plea agreement and said, I'm not going to let Baca do 6 months in prison. And keep in mind, Baca's attorneys didn't even want him to do that. They've come saying he has Alzheimer's, and they were telling the judge basically that he should get probation now because he's sick. And I guess the judge was saying, well, we got some pretty good doctors in the federal prison system, and so we can take care of him quite adequately and sufficiently in the prison system. But the judge threw the deal out and said that's not enough time. And I was, I would have bet my life that that was not going to happen, but it did, and I'm glad that it did. Because Baca's corruption runs deep, goes long, and is strong. This man has been sitting at the apex, at the top of a system that is corrupted, that is abusive, for 20 years basically. And I wrote a book years ago called Blue Eyed Blonde, and it talks a lot about LA County Jail and some of the things that I saw there. I was saying to a friend the other day, Jerry Silva, who hosts the KPFK radio show Think Outside the Cage, a show that I was on last week from 8:30 until 9. And if you'll go to kpfk.org, look in their archives, you can listen to the show. I haven't heard it yet, but now that I mentioned it, I think I'll try to catch it today myself. But I was telling Jerry that I saw some things in LA County Jail that if I were to tell them, you wouldn't sleep for a week. And it just fascinates me that this man sat atop this corrupted empire for more than almost 2 decades rather, and got away with it. He got away with murder. He got away with letting white inmates be raped by blacks and Mexicans on a daily basis. I felt sorry for white guys in the LA County jail system. Read my book, Blue Eyed Blonde. Not just a shameless plug. It really is a book that deals with those issues. And so the system, or the jail system, is not quite as bad as it used to be, but it is still horrible in more ways than many. Have you ever heard of a top ramen soup? A top ramen soup sells in the state prison system for 25 cents. 25 cents per soup. Now, here in civilian life, you can go to the bargain store and get 10 of them for $1. So basically 10 cents each. Stay with me. The same top ramen soup that sells to California prison inmates for 25 cents costs, get this, $1.18 in LA County Jail. $1.18 per soup. That is extortion. It is highway robbery. My question is, who's getting the money? What are they doing with it? Because there's no justification for it. How can I come over to South Central California and sell a car for $5,000 and go to Beverly Hills and sell the same car for $1,000? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. I could not believe my eyes. When I saw the pricing, I said, oh, maybe this is 4 soups. One top ramen soup at LA County Jail this day will cost you $1.18. The same soups that you can get 10 of at the bargain store for $1. The same soup that you can get in the prison system for 25 cents each. That's extortion. But this is what LA County Jail is all about. It's like they are above the law. The rules don't apply. And, they've been abusing inmates for decades. As I said, it is the largest jail system, not in America, but in the world. In the world. And Lee Baca, was in charge for almost 2 decades. Now, his undersheriff, Paul Tanaka, was also a corrupted imbecile. He ran the torture program, if you will, the program that waterboarded the inmates, the program that set inmates up. If they were angry with you, they would put you in the cell with a known rapist, a known, excuse the terminology, but what they would call a booty bandit. In fact, there's a lawsuit. Look it up, Google it, where an inmate sued the jail system in Los Angeles for putting him in the cell with a known guy whose nickname was Booty Bandit. He and his family sued, and he got $3 million of your dollars, because that's what they would do if they were